was a full mattress and everything. So, I'm about 6 foot tall. The top rail for this bed is probably every bit of 7 feet tall. So not even I could really look over that top railing without standing on something. I remember numerous times, and it could be every night, it could be every other night, but all the time I'd be laying in that bed and I would see someone be looking at me over that railing, that's 7 feet down. So it happens quite a bit. And I start sleeping with the TV on. So now there's light in the room. I can actually see what it is that's looking over this railing of my bunk bed. And it's a little boy in a red coat. So judging by the size of the head, the way the face looks, it's definitely a little boy. And for probably 3 or 4 years before I finally moved out, it happened all the time. So I go ahead and funny enough, the story continues this way. I move out and I go to basic training and I'm gone for 6 months and I move in with friends afterwards and everything. My younger sister moves into that bedroom. And I don't find out until I start doing investigating and stuff. And, 2008, 2009, 2010, somewhere in there, that she knew exactly what I was talking about because she would constantly see the same exact thing. That same little boy in the same red coat, but she didn't have the bunk bed. She had just a regular bed on the floor, and she'd see him walk into the room and everything. And back before she even got her new bed and she was on the bunk bed as well, she said that she'd see him peering over the side like that. So, it's almost like a twofer, both mine and my younger sister's first ghost experience. Whether or not that helped drive my interest in the paranormal, I can't say. But it was my first experience, yeah. And it's, in my opinion, probably one of the worst ones because it's in your room looking over your bed. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
And do you feel like your experience, gave you the interest to get into this field, or was it something else altogether?
I honestly don't know what the interest was that got me into it. I started researching and doing photo and video analysis in 2008, right before my deployment. And then right as soon as I got home in 2009, doing it more and eventually got into investigating. So, I mean, maybe it had something to do with my deployment. I honestly have no clue what got me into this field. Or maybe I told Dan and now I can't remember what I said. Did I ever tell you what got me into the paranormal? Yeah, I honestly don't know. It just almost fell into my lap.
Yeah.
And I ran with it.
Tessa, how about you?
So, for Tessa?
Yeah. Tessa, are you there?
What about you? What your first ghost? Yeah, she's here.
I'm here.
She's thinking.
I have many because since I can talk to them and see them, I mean, they would visit me every night since I could remember. I mean, I'd be in my crib and there would be a lady that would be watching me in my room. And I had no idea why I could see her. I think maybe the one that probably sticks out for me the most, my father died. When he passed, I felt something. It was weird. It's hard to explain like how I felt, but I could just feel like something was wrong. And I just had felt this strong presence in my bedroom. I was maybe, I was 4 years old, and I wake up to him in my bedroom watching me. And I'm like, why are you here? So that's probably the one that sticks out to me the most, is when he visited me the night that he died.
That's very cool. Did he send you a specific message? Were you able to communicate with him, or were you just able to see him and then feel like a certain feeling as a message?
I felt like he wanted to let me know that everything's okay, and that but it was kind of like a goodbye for now kind of feeling. I didn't feel scared or anything, but
well, everybody in the chat room is saying that they're not able to hear us, and so I'm thinking I should go check my Ethernet line really quick. So we've already gone over like what led you guys to form this group and your first paranormal experience, and you know how you all met. Let's talk about your guys' book, Paranormal Theories: A Logical Approach, as a collaborative, effort. Larry and Dave, how did the teamwork and efforts behind that go for you guys?
Well, for the book, Paranormal Theories: A Logical Approach, Dan and I, doing a lot of our stuff on Facebook, had this, I don't want to, or an SOP or anything like that, but we had thoughts about the way that things would work. So we would literally just write a note on Facebook, and we'd say, this is our theory on how this works. And actually scientifically proved. So the first thing was first, we wanted to make sure that, this theory was correct, and correct. And we still do. They are still working for us, but anything scientific, you got to keep adding data. So.
And Dan, how about yourself?
He actually walked out of the room for a sec.
I had to go deal with something. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Your collaborative effort on this book, the ins and outs of it, and how it was working together as a team on it.
A lot of the theories were formulated off. Larry and I were already putting in practice when we went on these investigations. So it just seemed the right thing to do to kind of, to be as scientific as we could be, to do things the same way every time we went somewhere. And, that's kind of why we call it the logical approach, because it just seems logical to us, why things may be happening at a certain location, or why we may be getting certain activity, like a residual haunt versus an intelligent haunt, or, whatever the case may be. And we just kind of sat down, formulated our theories. Some are built on other theories that are out there. Some are fresh right out of our head. So, and these are things that we put into practice, and we tried to get the equipment to test those theories every time we go out somewhere. So, we put them together, we wrote them down, tested a few of the theories, and in the book, Larry does all the science stuff, which he does extremely well. And then I kind of put the twist of the story, where we were at or what we were doing, that supports the theory that Larry explained scientifically.
how do you guys use a scientific method? Are there certain tools you use, or certain methods that you feel you can get the scientific data?
One of the best ways to apply science to the paranormal is to make sure you're trying to do things as best you can the same time every time. So we have an investigation report to where we can log all the data that we have for an investigation. What temperature it was, where the wind was blowing, who was there, what equipment was used, what was gathered on the equipment. Tessa has her own page on the report of nothing but sensitive stuff. What she got, who she was talking to, where she got it, what time it happened. And then, when you 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year, you start to notice that, the same things start happening. You ask a question, 6 months later, you ask the question again, you get the same answer. Or, you start talking to someone and then it says a name. And then you ask for a name again, and that same name comes up. The whole time you're thinking about, as you're doing this, how do I prove this scientifically? Well, really the only way is to reproduce your results every time. And for the paranormal, it's hard because sometimes they don't want to talk. Mm-hmm. But, we really do the best that we can. And the tools that we use really help with that a lot. One of the tools that we've been using is a Geiger counter, because one of our theories that's in the book really revolves around the use of a Geiger counter. And we started slipping that into our investigations, and we started realizing there actually might be more to this Geiger counter than we originally thought. So now every time we use it and it proves to be useful, that's just, another line in the next version of the theory book that says we tested it out and it actually ended up being true. So yeah. I don't know if that's quite the explanation. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, the thing about a scientific theory or a scientific algorithm is there's no place in the paranormal that you can actually test it to a true scientific method, because you have to form the theory, you have to test the theory, you have to have it in a laboratory setting, which we all know that doesn't happen at cemeteries and haunted houses and haunted locations. Then you have to control that environment, which in a haunted location, you're trying to control something that's uncontrollable. Then you have to get that same result over and over and over again in a controlled environment. Well, that's not going to happen, and I don't care what team is out there doing it. It's never going to happen. So we try to be as scientific as we possibly can. As Larry said, when we get the same names, coming up 6 months after the fact or whatever, it lends credence to the last time we were there. I had a question just the other night. How come you guys go to the battleground all the time? Well, because when a scientist is trying to prove his theory and he's doing a test over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, he doesn't just do that 5 times. He does that about 500 times. Mm-hmm. And so if we're going to get accurate data to be able to log, we have to see how many times we get that name come up in a ghost box session or an EVP session. We have to see, how many times, if we go there at 9 o'clock certain nights, or if we go there at midnight certain nights, what's the difference in the answers we're getting? What's the, two of the biggest places we go, unfortunately, are cemeteries, and they're both right next to roadways, and we cannot control the traffic on those roadways. It's just, unless we were millionaires and could shut the road down every time we're there, which, isn't going to happen.
Yeah, but that still wouldn't help us with the crickets.
And that still wouldn't help us with the wildlife, the crickets. I mean, Larry and I went to the battleground just a month ago, and we recorded for probably 30 minutes. Larry got some really great cricket noises for about 30 minutes. You can barely find voice in the background. We have 2 really nice state-of-the-art EVP recorders, but they're almost too good.
Yeah. Well, I've talked with different people about that, and there's the theory that it takes out so much noise that it's taking out the stuff that we need to get the EVPs. So it's kind of a disaster when you're trying to get evidence. And some people find using the tape recording recorders with the tape, or maybe even a disc or whatnot, work better. I think the recorders with the tape tend to catch more, or even some original digital ones, but the newer ones just cancel out so much noise that it's really hard to get a viable source for an EVP.
We have ours set up to where it doesn't do any noise cancellation. It doesn't have the wind cancellation. It's coming in as raw as possible. We do have a windsock on our recorders just so that we do block the wind. But in terms of getting stuff recorded onto them, usually when we run a session, if there's answers to be heard, we do hear them. The only problem, though, is just, like Dan said, when the traffic, and there's stuff that you can't control. So in those instances, we go to the ghost box. And, there's been a lot of times where there's been answers in that ghost box, and it's like, I can't explain that away. That is an answer to the question you asked. The ghost box is running backwards at a high rate of speed, and you're getting a phrase. So, we try to balance the different equipment that we have for the greatest chance of getting a successful session. But, it doesn't matter if you're doing EVP or ghost box. If there's traffic, you're done. You're not going to be able to hear anything. And there's been times where that's happened. We've had investigations where we stop by a cemetery, and for some reason, now there's a convoy going past. 35 cars. And it's like, do we wait or do we bonus? But the whole rest of the night, there's not a single car to be seen. It's just only when we're there.
Yeah. Timing sucks sometimes.
So we try to do it late. Like for us, it's almost midnight. This would be about the time we start getting out there. But unfortunately, because of where we're at, that's when a lot of those over-the-road truckers are driving at night. And you can hear a truck from more than a mile away with these recorders. So
Jade is asking in the chat room, what does the Geiger counter do as far as the paranormal goes?
So in the book that we wrote, Paranormal Theories, one of the theories talks about how spirits are able to affect us and make us feel sick or make us feel lightheaded or dizzy. And we were sitting there for a long time, and we had an experience, Dan had an experience that I'll let him talk about after I'm done explaining. It's called the Creepy Church. And Dan, for lack of a better term, felt sick. So we looked at the symptoms that Dan had and the symptoms that other people tend to get when they're exposed to the paranormal. And we thought, okay, well, what could explain this? And we eventually came along the thought line of minute radiation exposure. Nothing severe, that's why it's minute, but to the point to where it makes you dizzy, it gives you a headache until you get out of the area that you're being exposed to. Okay, that's possible, but now we have to explain why it'd be radiation. So if you think about it like this, visible light is in itself radiation. We exist within the visible light spectrum. And to one side of us is IR light, and the other side is UV light. So as we're investigating, we started to notice that we were getting more evidence with regular pictures in the visible spectrum and UV, but not a whole lot in IR. So if you plot that on a graph, you'll start to realize as the evidence frequency starts going up, the more you get towards UV, well, once you go past UV, would it make sense for evidence to increase past that too? So we started looking into X-ray radiation. And could the paranormal realm exist with an X-ray? Could it exist beyond X-ray? At the current time, we really don't have a way to find that out. We don't have X-ray cameras. We don't have cosmic radiation cameras or anything like that, but we have a Geiger counter. And our Geiger counter can monitor X-ray radiation. So a lot of the times when we're out at an investigation, we've got that thing set up, scan for X-ray. And one place we went to was the Vets Hall. Really beautiful building in Rockford. It was, I want to say, what, 3-story, 2.5-story? Count the basement as a story. 3-story building. Does the balcony count as a story? Okay, so 4-story. And we were in there doing an investigation, and the baseline reading, walking in throughout the whole building, really, really, really real low. And as we start doing investigation and doing EVP session and ghost box session, the numbers would start ticking up. But then when the session was over, it'd go back down again. Now, the numbers never got out of, it was always within normal readings. But if the baseline is 0.09 and, for example, went up to 0.02, well, that's still normal, but that's still a pretty significant change. So, yeah, as of right now, we're using the Geiger counter to test that, and it is proving to be plausible, but until we get the opportunity to a better Geiger counter, detect, something, all we could do is just test and theorize.
Yeah.
You want to tell the story for the people to where that whole thing stemmed from?
The creepy church, we went to this location, and I started feeling sick. We got there, we started investigating. I told Larry, I said, dude, I can't, it's not happening tonight. You guys go ahead up. I'm going to stay back here by the car. And the farther I held back, I felt like there was just a giant bullseye on me. And I felt, it went beyond being watched. It felt like something was being projected at me, making me sick. Finally, Larry and my nephew had an experience there, hauled butt back to the car, said, let's just go, let's get out of here. And I'm getting sicker by the minute anyway, so I think, okay, that's a good idea. I'd like to go home. Farther we got away from the creepy church, the better I felt. By the time we were 5 miles away, I felt just as fine as I did the night that earlier when we started. So Larry, being a chemical tech for hazmat in the Army, and I spent 16 years in the fire service, me being a hazmat operations guy for the fire service, we started thinking, what environmental thing could make you feel sick like that other than, if it was really hot out, if it was really humid, which that night it wasn't. And we started thinking radiation sickness. You got low-level doses of radiation, constantly projected at you. That could, in effect, make you sick. And the first thing that you learn about in the hazardous materials realm is time, distance, and shielding. You limit your time to the exposure, you distance yourself from the exposure, and you shield yourself from the exposure. And with radiation sickness, those things are the biggest thing first. I have friends that work at the nuclear plant just 20 miles down the road from us, and they all wear cards on their neck. And if that card turns a different shade of green, guess what? You're done for work at the day. You're only 2 hours into your work day. You got too much radiation. Sorry, you got to get out of here. So, those are the things: time, distance, and shielding. Those are proven facts. Those are facts that Larry and I both know very well from our backgrounds. And those are the only thing that really made sense. And lo and behold, we get the Geiger counter and start measuring these things. And we're coming to find out that when we seem to be picking up an activity, like if we're running a ghost box session, an EVP session, we're getting K2 hits. Lo and behold, the Geiger counter seems to be jumping too.
Did you get a message from a physicist or something?
I did get a message from a guy who was a physicist that read our book. He was a physicist on the West Coast, and I don't remember what his name is now. But he read our theory on radiation, and his thought was that we were really, really onto something with that theory. So, I mean, nobody else has got it. Nobody else has a theory on it. Nobody else is coming up with anything better, and nobody else is coming up with a way to prove it. I mean, at least Larry and I have a viable theory, something that we both can base something on because we both have knowledge in it, being hazmat guys.
Right.
Not from just the Army or the military perspective, but from the military and the fire service perspective. So we both have different ideas about how these things are approached, but it all comes to the same conclusion. And there's really nobody else out there doing this.
Yeah, and I think a major part of that is how prevalent EMF is in the whole paranormal field. Everything is EMF. K2, ghost meter. What do you do when you first get there? You do an EMF sweep to make sure there's no fear cages. What else is EMF called? Electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic radiation. So you start adding 2 and 2 together, and you get 4, and you go, wait a minute. Okay, let's go down this path now. See what this is about. And that led us to the book.
So sometimes we're not measuring EMF or not taking much concern with the EMF as much as we are with the radiation.
Yeah, because it can be so hazardous to your health, and although you're trying to help people on the other side or collect this data, you have to protect yourself because you don't want to come down with cancer or whatever else may happen.
From what I've seen and read and researched, there hasn't been a case of, ghost made me sick permanently. But at the same time, would you know to think it was a ghost that made you sick? You can get cancer from your cell phone, from your drinking water, from power lines over your house, like that Aaron Brockovich movie.
And it all comes back to time, distance, and shielding.
Right.
How much of an exposure did you get? How much time did you spend near that exposure? How far were you from that exposure? So the heavier one, the lighter one.
Right. You also got to think about the strength of the spirit. How much is it able to effectively, target you and make you sick before it goes, I'm out of energy, I got to go. So.
Well, on that note,
I've often toyed with the thought that they can actually pull.
Yeah.
Sure.
On that note, we got to go to our first break. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us and bring your questions for us to investigate right here on Spaced Out Radio.
There's news, and there's The Encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter. Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head in disbelief. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. Here comes the second hour of Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa N Thomas. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. And you can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT. Now, back to the show.
Hey guys, welcome back, and thanks so much for tuning in tonight. We are talking with Larry, Dan, and Tessa from the Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell project. Hey guys, welcome back, and thanks so much for being on the show. Are you guys there? Okay, I'm gonna have to call them back, I think.
Hello?
Hello. Welcome back, guys. I don't know what happened there.
Thank you. The call dropped out, but I think we're okay now.
Okay, that's good. Well, I was just welcoming you guys back. Sorry we lost you there.
That's all right. It's probably the internet on our side anyway, so.
All right, well, Jade in the chat room was asking, if it's radiation, then it can be cumulative. Would it be possible to find out what kind of radiation?
Yeah, technically it would have to be either X-ray or gamma because alpha and bravo wouldn't be able to penetrate. And it wouldn't be able to make you feel sick or dizzy or anything like that. Just because, your skin and your clothing acts as shielding.
Our atmosphere acts as shielding.
Well,
to a
yeah.
certain amount of gamma.
Right. So that's why we figured it had to be in the X-ray, really the X-ray or above range. Just because, X-ray has no problem penetrating us. Goes right through us because we get X-rays all the time at the doctor's office.
Yeah. No matter what we're wearing, we'll go right through you.
Right. But unfortunately, X-ray is really the only other thing we can test because we can't test anything above it. And if we could, it'd probably cost us more than what Dan's house cost him right now.
Yeah. So
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
There's not a real good way to get a gamma level. And then usually if you're getting any kind of gamma level, you're probably going to be dead within the next 10 minutes.
Right. Unless you want to spend $5,000 on the right equipment to do it. I don't know how much they have that kind of stuff on Amazon. How often?
Well, right now I'm looking through the chat rooms. For some reason, it cut me off of one chat room and it wasn't doing anything, and everybody ended up in this other chat room for Spreaker, and supposedly there's all kinds of questions and stuff over there, so I'm looking to see. But in the meantime, can you guys tell us about Expedition Entity, Pursuing Paranormal, your YouTube channel?
Well, Dan, why don't you go ahead, and if there's any technical stuff, I'll fill in.
Expedition Entity was my brainchild. Larry and I kind of wanted to showcase some of these locations that we visit and kind of bring them to light, sort of at a production level. We talked about it. We decided, hey, let's call this Expedition Entity, and we will do webisodes, one every 2 months, so 6 a year. Sometimes more if we have enough locations that we can do that with.
This year was a pretty busy year.
This year was a very busy year, and we were very fortunate. Next year looks to be just as busy, but, you start running out of locations, and, we don't want to showcase the same location 15 times because even though we're investigating those spots, way more than that, nobody wants to keep seeing the same thing over and over again, so they'd like to see us go to new spots. So that's kind of what Expedition Entity is. It's kind of where we go, showcase the spot. Yes, we do investigate it, but a lot of the Expedition Entity stuff is more for entertainment purposes than it is for, paranormal purposes. Now, things that we do catch there, we will put into Expedition Entity, of course, but we really do Expedition Entity to showcase the location, and we will do ghost box sessions there, we'll do EVP sessions there, we will do we'll do all of our regular testing there, but it's kind of we kind of switch gears, if you will, because we're more there for the production of Expedition Entity than we are sometimes for the investigation. Because when we're there for an investigation, we're more trying to videotape the evidence or possible evidence that we're catching versus making sure that Larry's got the right shot on me when I'm doing this ghost box session or whatever. So there's really two types of frames of mind to the way we shoot things. If we're out trying to gather evidence, we're documenting what the Geiger counter's saying and what the EMF meter, if we get the huge K2 hit, we want to make sure we record that. Things like that. Whereas Expedition Entity, we're worried more about, are we getting these answers on the ghost box? Are we getting these answers on EVP? Or we get, so.
Luckily, once we do an episode of Expedition Entity, the next time we go back to that site, we're always back in data mode. We don't have to record Expedition Entity again because we've already done it once. So every time after that, it's always pointed at the equipment, not so much different angles of Dan.
And when people see these locations on Expedition Entity, and then we go back and you pop onto our page and, oh, Dan and Larry are back at the battleground. They've already seen the battleground. We've already taken them on a tour through Expedition Entity. We've already talked about the hot spots through Expedition Entity. Now they're able to go, the next time we show up there, go, hey, they're over in that one creepy corner of the Vets Hall. That's where they caught this on Expedition Entity. So, it kind of introduces our fans to the spots that we're going to and investigating.
So what is the most haunted location that you've covered doing this?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would, from my opinion and personally, just what I say, it's a toss-up probably between the Vets Hall
and Mantino State Hall.
Well, we didn't do an episode for Mantino, though. Or are you just talking overall?
I think you're asking what's the most haunted place we've ever been to, correct?
Yeah, doing your YouTube stuff. What is the most haunted thing that you've been able to capture doing your YouTube channels?
Well,
probably our thermal hit.
and I would probably say it's the thermal video, yeah.
Yeah.
And the best part is the cemetery that we recorded that thermal video is about, what would you say, 2 minutes down the road from your house?
Yep.
It's his town's cemetery. Yeah. Ooh. I would say definitely the thermal.
Yeah, sorry about that. You guys can hear it, but the guys on the other side can't because I had it muted, unless they do it again while I'm unmuted. But sorry about that. That was a pretty good blood-curdling scream. So yeah, it's pretty cool you're able to do that. Were you done talking about that? I'm sorry. I kind of got distracted with the scream.
You broke up a little bit there. Could you say it again?
I was asking about your most haunted location, and we were talking about that, then got distracted by the background noise. So were you done talking about that thing?
Honestly, it's got to be Maple Cemetery. And Dan agrees, nodding his head. We've been investigating Maple Cemetery since you and I first got together.
I've been investigating Maple Cemetery since I was a kid.
Yeah. So, numerous recording sessions there, numerous voices, a lot of different pictures with faces going around trees. But our best evidence there has been within the last few years. Just to explain it so you can kind of picture it, Maple is a cemetery where there's a sidewalk right on the edge of it to where if you step off the sidewalk, you're probably standing on somebody's feet. And the sidewalk is real close to it. And we most of the time stay on the sidewalk. Well, when you walk down towards the edge of the cemetery and you walk towards the corner, there's a tree where the sidewalk kind of snakes around it. And we're walking down the sidewalk, and Dan just happens to look up in this tree, and he goes, there's somebody in the tree. We snap a picture of it, and while we didn't get someone sitting in the tree, the upper probably, quarter of the picture has a black fog in it. And we really have no other way to explain how a black fog got into our picture when none of the other pictures that night had moisture, any kind of fog. It wasn't raining, it wasn't snowing. But in this one picture of the moment that he saw someone in the tree, now we have a black fog. So
that's pretty interesting how different things can happen to your devices and pictures.
Yeah. So after that, a lot more pictures, a lot more voices. We have really weird K2 phenomena happening there. The drive of the cemetery, which is we stand in it most of the time. We don't really go in the grass too much, if at all. Power lines go over the drive. So we'll have the K2, and Dan and I are both really tall. We're both over 6 feet, arms straight up in the air, and we're just barely picking up the power lines. But when you bring the K2 down to about waist height, you're getting, significant readings on it. 3, 4, sometimes even all 5 lights. You set it on the ground, you're getting all 5 lights. There's been times where we walked into the cemetery a good, 15, 20 feet away?
And you're getting all 5 lights.
15, 20 feet away from that power line, and you're still getting 4 or 5 lights. But we can't explain it. From what we can tell, there's no underground wires or anything. The only wires are the ones that are up above the drive, and, even standing directly underneath them, arms straight up in the air, we're barely registering anything. But, waist height, we're getting this thing almost pegging out. And it only happens in that one spot. You move out of the driveway area, doesn't happen at all. So, and then of course the thermal, which Dan, you actually captured the thermal, so you should be the one to talk about it. Tess and I were just kind of in the foreground of it, and then you go, "Oh, hey guys, look at this."
We were at Maple Cemetery. Tessa, as our sensitive, was feeling quite a bit of activity in the cemetery that night.
I saw someone in the cemetery.
She actually saw someone in the cemetery. I actually saw someone in the cemetery. I couldn't tell if it was actually somebody or, the shadow, or if it was just, because there are cars going by there all the time, if it was just light play off of another stone, from headlights hitting it. But Tessa said, no, there's something in here. Somebody's trying to talk to us. So we decided, okay, we're going to pull out all the stops. We're going to kind of switch this. We're going to kind of switch this up a little bit. Pardon me. So we decided to start saturating the cemetery with our UV cameras, and I decided to start running thermal video while we were doing that. And lo and behold, we got the thermal hit. I mean, it's clearly walking through the trees. It ducks behind the tree, peeks back out at us.
17 plus degrees cooler than the background.
Yeah, it's, we're at 85 to 88 degrees ambient temperature, and it's registering 62.
Sometimes even 60.
Yeah, sometimes even 60. So one of the cool things is that the guys from Real or Faked Paranormal Warehouse, they watched the video, they studied it, and they're of the opinion that we didn't fake it, it's real. And if we did fake it, I'd like to know how we did it. Because I can't figure out how I could fake it. So
yeah, no, we did a revisit of the thermal, and basically we put Dan out by the trees and made Dan walk the same path this spirit did, and lo and behold, just as we thought, Dan was black, but the spirit was white, because it's a black and white thermal. White is cold and black is hot. So
I'm registering at over 88 degrees.
Yeah, 92 or 3, something like that.
And what Larry did was he put the original thermal right next to our revisit, as he's explaining it on the bottom. You can cut the screen into 4s.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it's not a person, because everybody's initial response is, oh, nope, that's a person out there.
And if it was reversed, if black was hot, or if black was cold and white was hot, then yes, it would have been a person.
I would agree, but that's not the way our thermal reads.
Right. So yeah, between our own opinion, which obviously we shot it, so it's not worth as much, and the opinion of the guys from Paranormal Warehouse who showed it on their Real or Fake, web show. Yeah, we think it's legit.
And those guys look at that stuff all the time because that's what they do. They're debunkers.
Yeah.
And, they said they thought it might have been faked by mistake, meaning we thought we caught something that, and it was something else.
Like if an animal came into shot or something.
And after we did the revisit and the reshoot and everything, and they looked at it, they're like, yeah, there's no way. That thermal, you can clearly see Dan is black and this anomaly is white.
Right.
So the temperature change is at least, like I said, sometimes down to 60 degrees to 85. You're talking a 25 degree difference in temperatures.
Yeah,
so I don't
drastic.
know. Right. I don't know what we caught. I don't even know if it was a ghost. All I know is it is an anomaly that I can't explain.
And it was cold.
Yep, and it was cold. And that's kind of what I told the guys from Paranormal Warehouse. When they sent me the message, I was like, guys, I'm not saying it's a ghost. I'm just saying I can't explain it. And we were ghost hunting, so that's kind of putting two and two together.
Yeah.
So you guys... Oh, go ahead.
Well, and it does concur with the feelings Tessa was getting at.
Absolutely. Because right after, Tessa had pretty much said, you wanted me to know you're here, but you're not showing yourself. And then all of a sudden Dan goes, we got movement. I mean, it was almost right after. And it was almost like they're like, oh, really? You don't think we're showing ourselves?
Well, here I am.
Watch this.
So you guys have this project you're working on, the Ghosts of the Black Hawk Wars. Dan, tell us about the Black Hawk Wars and your little freak out you had.
Well, you can watch the freak out on our YouTube channel, and don't go and watch it if you don't like to hear cussing, because I dropped quite a bit of cussing on there. And Larry did put the video, label it profanity. You got to understand that I was totally taken aback. It was totally a surprise. Had no clue. We went there to do a ghost box session, and all of a sudden I see this guy walk across the water. So Black Hawk War of 1832 was fought in the state of Illinois and Wisconsin. It was a conflict between Black Hawk and his British band, which consisted of Sauk Indian tribe and the state of Illinois militia, and then eventually the United States military. It kicked off in Stillman Valley, Illinois, which is literally 13 miles down the road from us.
That's the battleground we're always going to.
That is the battleground that we're always at. And probably one of the best UV pictures we've ever caught was caught right there at the battleground. And then it moved up through northern Illinois and into Wisconsin. And about two to 3 months after it started, it ended with a battle called the Battle of Bad Axe.
May 14th, August 3rd?
August 3rd.
So not a very long war.
No, where basically the United States military and the militia surrounded Black Hawk and his forces. It chased them into the Mississippi River and then fired at will. They killed women, children, and warriors. They didn't care if they were part of Black Hawk's band. They were killed.
Wow.
So my freak out happened at what they call Black Hawk's gathering site. And his gathering site is where the Kishwaukee and Rock River meet in northern Illinois, just outside of present-day Rockford. The downside is we're probably not even a half mile from the Rockford Airport. So not only do we have a main roadway going into Rockford coming by there, but we also have planes coming in all night long.
Which is actually featured in the video.
Yeah, because it is one of the bigger U.S. UPS hubs in northern Illinois besides Chicago. So Larry and I are out on the bridge. We're getting ready to set up for this ghost box session. Larry's filming me, and all of a sudden, I look over, and from the ambient light going across the river, I see a guy, very regimented looking. Looks like he's holding something, which I can only assume was a rifle, walking across the top of the water. The water was not being rippled. It was not being, manipulated in any way. So I think it was a residual haunt. The guy did not take notice of me at all, even when I, said, what the holy, you can figure it out. And he never takes notice of me, but I sure noticed him. And like I said, the last thing that I ever expected to see up there that night was a guy walking across the top of the water. So
my favorite thing about that video is, if you followed us for a while, you've seen a lot of our sessions. Mm-hmm. They're very, I don't want to say regimented, but they're calm and smooth. But this video, you can tell that Dan is a little freaked out. His questions are faster. He's not waiting as long for responses. His behavior is telling you, I just saw something that freaked me out. And, working with Dan for as long as I have, that doesn't happen. So, unfortunately, because I'm looking at the monitor of the camera, I try to look in the water, and basically I have light blindness.
Oh, no.
My eyes aren't adjusted because I'm staring at a bright camera screen. I couldn't see it. But judging by his reaction and how he continued into that session, without a doubt, he actually really did see something.
I saw something, or I thought I saw something. I don't know. What my brain registered was a guy walking across the top of the water.
Right.
And the important thing to say about Larry and I is Larry is a combat veteran. I spent 16 years in the fire service, 6 of them as a lieutenant and a paramedic. Part of my paramedic career in Chicago, downtown. And now I'm a corrections officer and have been for the past 12 years. Like Larry said, we're both at least 6 foot tall. I go about 285.
Same.
Larry's smaller than me, I think. But the important thing to say, Tessa, is neither one of us scare very easily. There's not a lot out there that scares us. And like Larry brought up, most of our videos are pretty calm. Even if we get on nerve, we still carry on.
Well, even the thermal video.
Right.
You
even
were
the
seeing
thermal video.
A guy walk in the cemetery, and you're just like, guys, you got to check this out.
Yeah.
Right. This one totally hit me from left field. And I mean, it just, I wasn't freaked out because I was scared. I was freaked out because I really couldn't believe what I was seeing. So that was my freak out.
I absolutely love this story.
You got it on film. So
I got it on film, and it's the first time I've ever seen it happen, and I'll never forget it. And anytime I get the chance to, I'm always going to make sure someone brings it up.
Yeah, you're like, have you seen this video yet? You got to check this out.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
A little bit. I don't remember what the title was, but I'm pretty sure Dan's freak out is in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it's good when you get that good evidence or have that experience. You think you're prepared, but it really does take you aback when you do have them. You're just never prepared for that because it's just paranormal.
I think that even when I saw the ghost girl, I saw a ghost girl in our local, used to be a scout camp just outside of my hometown here. And she didn't look like a ghost, Tessa. She looked like a girl standing out in the weeds in an evening gown, which no girl should be standing out in the weeds in an evening gown, weeds up to their waist. And but she didn't look like an apparition. I couldn't see her. She looked like a person standing out in the weeds. And as I tried to close the distance to make sure she was okay and try to get a picture of her, all of a sudden she was gone. I didn't hear her jump into the river. I didn't hear weeds swish, like somebody walking off. Nothing. She was just gone. And I don't think I was alone when I saw her, but I know that I didn't react the way that I did when I saw the guy walking across the top of the water. So, I mean, it was a little freaky, but I'm like, wow, I think I just saw a ghost. Well, up at the gathering spot, I mean, I just was totally off guard.
And I got it on film.
And Larry got it all on.
Good job, Larry. We need that data.
Well, there's a reason why I'm behind the camera. It's to make sure I always get stuff like that.
It's to make sure I don't catch his freak out.
That too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So, with the Black Hawk Wars, can you guys tell us about their most haunted locations there and the ghosts that you guys have encountered besides the girl in the dress?
I think probably the one spirit ghost that we can say for sure we captured is John Giles Adams. I'm 100% convinced it's him.
Yeah, he at the battleground there's 12 stones there, but there's actually only 9 militia buried there.
For Stillman's Run, Stillman Valley.
At Stillman's Run, that's the first battle of the Black Hawk War. That's the one we always go to. The Native Americans took great care in mutilating those men, and Captain Adams was beheaded. The reason we think it's Captain Adams that I have caught in the UV picture is because he would have been the only one that would have had to adhere to military grooming standards at the time. The rest of them were militia, so they would have put their hair in a ponytail. They would have grabbed their rifle and locked their cabin up with left their wife and kids locked in the cabin and went to battle. Mm-hmm. Captain Adams would have had to have maintained military grooming standards, and I've had lots of people look at that picture and go, "Yeah, you caught something there," and it kind of looks like Wyatt Earp.
Right.
It just looks like his head. And one of the theories Larry and I came up with is maybe we're only seeing his head because the Indians did behead him.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at the picture, which I think is our cover picture for Facebook, isn't it?
I think it might be our cover picture for
Facebook.
Facebook.
We have the video now.
Oh, that's right.
There's a picture all over the place on our Facebook of it.
Tess, I can send you the picture in a message later.
Yeah.
So you can at least look at it. Put it out there if you want.
You could very clearly see the details of the guy's hair, an eye, and a very prominent mustache. There weren't,
for lack of a better term, he looks like Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
without the cowboy hat.
There weren't very many militiamen that sported a mustache.
No.
It wasn't very common. Men either had beards or they were stubble or they were, pretty close to shaven. They didn't have the time or really the care to keep a well-groomed mustache like you needed to in the military.
And Captain Adams was military.
Yes.
I mean, he was sent out to call up the militia and get them out to battle Black Hawk's forces. So that's why we feel that it was Captain Adams. Now, for the most haunted place on the Black Hawk War Trail,
Kellogg's
Grove is pretty active. The battleground's pretty active.
Kellogg's Grove is my favorite because we had that
distinct fire.
Distinct, yeah. We were doing a ghost box session and just getting normal responses. And I don't remember what you had asked. It wasn't anything related to what you had asked. And all of a sudden, it was in a quiet moment, and you heard fire.
Mm-hmm. And the important thing about that, Tessa, is Larry's been through military training. I've been through police academy training. And when you step up to the firing line to fire your weapon,
or in this case, line up to shoot.
Or should line up to shoot, like if they were returning volleys. It's a very clear, the military is not much different than the police academy in this aspect. They say, make ready, take aim, fire. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we heard was that, fire.
Yeah.
So we were there on the day of, we were there June 25th. We were there the day after the anniversary of that battle. And I truly believe that we caught an answer over the ghost box that, kind of put the situation right there.
Or something residual.
Or something residual that, just plays over and over. But we definitely heard the fire. I mean, it's clear as day.
And again, if you think about it, the ghost box, it's on AM running in reverse, pretty quick rate of speed to get fire that sounds like a firing line.
Yep.
And that's, I don't know.
And up in that battle, that's exactly what would have been happening.
Yeah.
They would have been lining up and trading volleys. The thing that people need to know about the Black Hawk War is that Black Hawk and his British band fought in the War of 1812, so they had rifles as well. It wasn't like they were firing bow and arrows back at these guys.
Right.
They were exchanging musket fire and rifle fire.
And they were using a lot of the tactics they used in 1812.
In 1812.
The British
absolutely.
taught them how to conduct war.
And Black Hawk did it very well.
He did very well.
For him having a band of
but between 400 and 1,000, they say.
Warriors.
Right.
The band was bigger, but that's counting women and children.
Yeah.
But warrior-wise, he had between 400 and 1,000 people, and he's taken on the United States military that has 20,000.
Yeah.
And finally, that's basically how they beat him, was shock and awe. They just outnumbered him, and they started firing at will.
Yeah,
and he had no recourse.
They just sent the bodies into the grinder.
Pretty much.
So, and you know, while we're talking about the Black Hawk War, that actually plays into our big reveal, Dan, if you want to do the honors.
You know what? You can reveal it.
You want me to reveal it?
Yeah, I think you've earned it.
All right. So, obviously, as you could probably tell, the Black Hawk War means a bit to us. And it also does tie into what we're doing at the Expedition Entity, the little-known places, especially for Illinois.
Yeah.
Dan and I both agree the Black Hawk War is like, you know, the war that Illinois forgot. Everyone always says, nothing happens in Illinois. Nothing's ever happened in Illinois. We had a war that was just for us, and maybe a little bit of Wisconsin, but we don't count
more
that.
of it was fought
Right. The major battles were here in Illinois. You know, Wisconsin had Wisconsin Heights and Bad Axe where it ended. You know, we had five or six.
A lot of the massacres and a lot of the little skirmishes where they killed people, you know, like William Durley.
Yeah.
You know, that all happened in Illinois.
Right. By the time they got to Wisconsin, it was basically a retreat.
Yeah, they were just chasing them down and going to exterminate them, and that's kind of what Wisconsin ended up being.
Right. So, with our focus on this and our desire to really bring not only the Black Hawk War to light, but people like John Giles Adams and William Durley and all the people that tragically met their end because of this war, we decided to write a book. And the book, it's not going to be a historical book because it's been done before. There are history books out there that detail every single little thing that happened every hour of the day in the Black Hawk War. That's not what we really want to do. We want to cover the history so that you know what happened, but then we're going to tell you about the paranormal side of every single battle, the data we've collected, who we've contacted, who we've seen, like supposedly Captain Adams, or maybe even Dan's freakout soldier. You know, we're trying to bring all that information now out in the form of a book to let people know, yeah, Chicago, haunted, absolutely. Rockford, Illinois, haunted, absolutely.
But some of these little battlefields out in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, guess what? Haunted as well.
Haunted. And from what we've seen, you know, you can go to a haunted building like the Vets Hall in Rockford, Illinois, 5 days in a row, and you might get something every time. You go to the battlefield 5 days in a row, and for some reason, we're getting stuff every night. So, you know, we're trying to bring the significance to these places too, and let people know just because it's outside, just because it's this little tiny park, this little rock on the side of the road that has this guy's name on it because he had a cabin here and there was a battle fought behind it. It doesn't mean it's not important. And we're really out there to show it's important.
So that's our announcement. We're writing a book called The Ghosts of the Black Hawk War.
Yep.
And
it's going to be a two-parter.
It will be a two-parter. There's going to be the Illinois part and the Wisconsin part.
Yep.
Mostly because Larry and I have pretty much visited every site in Illinois now where a battle or a
massacre
or an ambush took place. We will be soon visiting Black Hawk's birthplace, which would be Rock Island, Illinois.
Yep.
And after that, next year in 2019, we will be traveling to Bad Axe and hopefully going to be spending about 2 days there, and Wisconsin Heights, which is inside of present-day Madison, Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin Heights was really the big battle besides for Bad Axe for Wisconsin.
Right.
There's little things along the way, of course, but those were the two big things, kind of like Stillman's Run and Kellogg's for Illinois. So yeah.
So yeah, and the thing is like Larry said, it is a fairly forgotten war. People don't even realize. We have a little town in Illinois called Oregon, Illinois, and they have a 50-foot statue there, carved by Laredo Taft, called the Eternal Indian. Well, everybody in Illinois calls it the Black Hawk statue. Not in fact Black Hawk. Black Hawk had a mohawk. The Eternal Indian actually has a full head of hair with braids hanging down. Laredo Taft carved that sculpture there and put it on that bluff over the Rock River in honor of the Native Americans that lived here and were chased out of here by the United States and the state of Illinois, basically saying, hey, grab your stuff, get over the Mississippi River, and don't ever come back.
Oh, and here's $400.
And here's $400 for all this land. Yeah, the state of Illinois purchased pretty much the state of Illinois for $400.
Right.
And Black Hawk, that didn't really set well with him because, it was the deal was kind of made. It was called the Treaty of St. Louis in 1904. The deal was kind of made without.
No, this one was before that.
Oh, this one was before that. Well, anyway.
This was 18.
Was it 92?
No, because the Black Hawk War is.
The Black Hawk War kicked off in 1832.
Right.
But a lot of it led up to the War of 1812. Oh, I'm saying 19.
Yeah, you say 19.
1804
yeah.
Was actually the Treaty of St. Louis.
Yeah, the first one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm tired, Tessa. It's now like 20 minutes here. But anyway.
No worries. I understand, and I appreciate you being here.
1804 was basically when the treaty was signed. Black Hawk was upset because no other tribal elders were advised of this. 2 tribal elders basically made that decision, sold off the land, and then all of a sudden the United States military and the state of Illinois come in and say, hey, this land that you've lived on for thousands of years, get the hell out.
And we're not talking about small land. We're talking like the top,
the top half of the state.
The top half of the state. A good, maybe 10, 15% of the state is now traded away.
For $400.
And everyone that lived there got to go to Iowa now. Sorry.
Yeah. You guys just move along. Take your $400 and have a great day. Have you guys... I have a question from the chat room, but then I want to get back on this topic. BTO from the chat room wants to know, have the guests had any UFO or alien experiences, or are they just focused on ghosts?
Oh, don't get Dan started.
I have had a UFO experience.
Well, tell us about it.
We really want to get into Bigfoot and all that kind of UFO stuff.
We would like to start investigating UFOs and cryptids as well.
Absolutely.
Probably after the Black Hawk books are done, we may start doing more and more of that.
We do have plans for Bigfoot too. There
are a few Skywatch videos on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Where we do see weird lights, but my UFO experience is I grew up on a farm outside of the town here, and it was less of a farm and more of a cattle business. Well, we had about 2,300 cattle on hand when I was in high school, and our business was right on the edge of town, and the railroad tracks ran right through the middle of it. And at the time, I was 17 years old. We had 2 overhead gas tanks and then a diesel fuel tank in the back of our shop, and people had been going down and busting the locks off and stealing gas. Mm-hmm. So when I would come home from my girlfriend's house at night, I would drive down through our cattle yards and make sure, nobody was hiding there or whatever. And we had a big grain elevator on our land where we kept a lot of our feed for the cattle. And so one night I'm driving down there to check, make sure everything's locked up, make sure the shop's still locked and nobody busted the locks or anything. And as I'm driving down, I see lights coming down the tracks, the railroad tracks. And so it was always really cool to see the train come around and light up the grain elevator. The grain elevator was about 100 feet tall, and it kind of glowed. It took on this glow when the train lights would hit it. Really cool. And so I stopped. I left the truck running, and I opened the door, and I stood out on the floorboard, and I was watching. And I didn't hear anything. Now, when a train engine is chugging, pulling a bunch of cars, it's chugging, and you can hear it. I mean, you can hear the engine working. It was totally silent. And I'm thinking, where in the heck is this train, and why am I seeing these lights come around the track? So as I watched, I see an object come around the bend of the track. It was probably 50 feet above the ground. It had lights completely around it, and it had two searchlights, and it was searching up and down the sides of the tracks for something. I don't know what it was looking for. And all of a sudden, of course, my jaw hit the ground, and I'm sitting there looking at it because I can't believe it. And all of a sudden, the searchlights went off. The object straightened out. The lights around it started spinning faster. And within about a second, it was from 50 feet to the ground to a spot in the sky, moving very quickly. And just at that second, a bunch of dust kicked up, hit the truck. The truck, I mean, it was wind. You could feel the dust hit you. You could hear the dust hitting the windshield of the truck. And like I said, we had about 22 to 2,300 cattle on hand. Right then and there, every cow, it sounded like, started bawling, like right now. And it was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Was I abducted? I don't think so. I think I just happened to see a UFO. I don't know of anything in the United States military arsenal that can move like that. So I would say it was an unidentified flying object. There was awesome. There was another time where I've lost time, and I actually did a video on that. I lost about 14 minutes, and I cannot tell you where it went. It should have taken me 1 minute and 30 seconds to drive down the stretch of road, and I remember pulling onto the road. Now, this was probably 5 years later. I remember pulling onto the road. I remember a certain song being on the radio. The next thing that I realize is I'm about 1.5 miles down the road. It's 14 minutes later on my clock, and there's a different song on the radio. I don't know where I was. I don't know if it's paranormal or UFO related, but I lost 14 minutes of time that I cannot account for. The truck, I didn't roll the truck into a ditch. I was still on the road, and I was still driving. So where I went, I got no clue.
Didn't you lose time with your dad one time, too?
I think I lost time with my dad one time, too, but not as vivid as what this one was.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of those fun experiences. I tend to keep my nose down on a computer screen or a cell phone screen and not up in the sky.
Yeah. It is difficult these days, but, I tend to look up a lot.
Here, so it's a little bit easier to see lights out here. I'm a little closer to the city where you've got a lot of light pollution, and you can't really see lights all that well.
No, when I go out to his house, if you look up in the sky, you're not going to see anything. But sadly, out here, you see thousands of stars. I mean, my hometown, which I presently reside in, it was a frontier town.
And not much has changed in regards to looks.
No. Nope. A lot of the old original buildings are still here and still being used.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Larry and Dan, I just want to thank you for your service. I also served. I'm a Marine Corps vet, and serving your country can work in all different aspects. And thanks, you guys, for what you've done for all of us, and what you continue to do.
Thank you.
So, going back to the battlefield. When I was out in Arkansas, I'm part of a team. I founded Four Corners Paranormal Investigations, and when going to different places, I still like to investigate. And we went to the Prairie Grove battlefield in Arkansas, and, we went like 3 nights in a row, and it seemed like activity picked up more and more and more each night till we felt like we were surrounded and the spirits were kind of pushing us out. One of the experiments we did while being there was using noises from the Civil War and playing that through speakers, and we actually got activity from that. On the FLIR camera, we could see explosions behind the tree line, and then my daughter Nova was able to see a spirit. She saw two different ones, both wearing khaki-colored uniforms. And when we played this battlefield sounds, explosions, cannons, gunfire, people screaming, different stuff like that going on, the spirit ran past the car and then jumped into the tree line, which they would have done during battle anyways. Unless they're lining up. I don't even know where that military idea came from. Let's all line up in a line and just shoot at each other and see who's standing at the end. I mean, that seems to me like no common sense at all. But
it's the European style of battle.
Yeah.
And it goes way back to before guns, to swords and axes and hammers.
It was called fighting as a gentleman.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You smash each other in the face until finally one of you fell down, and then you got the guy behind him.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But have you guys used that, like playing back sounds for a certain era or battlefield sounds or anything like that during your investigations?
We have not done that. However, a friend of ours named David Scott from IPRA Strong in Chicago, him and his partner John came out and investigated the Vets Hall with us one night for an event that we held there. And they actually played World War II music. And it did seem to kick up activity for them in the room that they were investigating, which was full of a lot of World War II memorabilia.
Yeah.
So I have heard of it being done before, and I have heard of it being done with great success.
The Kling brothers.
The Kling brothers do it and have done it quite a few times, and
Absolutely.
they are always successful. Sounds like you were very successful with doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe something that Larry and I should probably try.
One of the problems when it comes to the Black Hawk War is you have sites like the Battleground. It's in a really nice part. The stones are so well taken care of. But if you look at a picture, 15 feet away, there's a house.
Yeah.
You move on to the next one, Kellogg's Grove. Right across from this beautiful park, right across the street, there's a house. Wadham's Grove, not that far from Kellogg's Grove. The site of the battle is under a guy's house.
No.
So there's a lot of situations, at least for the Illinois battles, where if there's not a house within the very close vicinity, there's a house actually over the battle site itself. And whether or not because, they didn't start really keeping track of things until the Civil War, so no one really said, oh, by the way, this plot of land right here is the Battle of Wadham's Grove. They just said, hey, come buy this plot of land.
This is prime realty location. Move on in.
Right. This beautiful grove here with this nice open area and these trees. I don't know why it's open in this area, but it is. And lo and behold, a battle happened there. And now this guy's house is in it. So now the next time we do the Vets Hall, I would really like to relive John and Dave's experiment with music and everything. Yeah.
That would be something cool for our live investigation.
Absolutely. That's something we can have a little bit more control over. Yeah. Maybe even Camp Grant too.
Yes, absolutely.
But for the Black Hawk War, it's just so hard.
And I don't even know what kind of music they would have listened to back then. I guess you can start Googling songs from 1832.
It would have been very orchestrated.
Right.
But that would be more the city people. What did the people that lived out in the sticks listen to?
Well, and they would have had to either play it on their own fiddle or sing it because there weren't no iPods back then.
Exactly. So we'll have to look into it. Thank you for the idea, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's different things. I mean, there's so many things on YouTube you wouldn't even think would be there. And Civil War sounds were one of them. But you could, if this is a native area or whatnot, you could, play music from that era. I mean, I don't know. Just look on YouTube, see what's on there and what will work for that. And it's very interesting how it works. And the thing with the khaki-colored uniforms, you always think of blue and gray. And so when she saw the first one running up the stairs of this house that was rebuilt because the house was burnt down back in the day, So they rebuilt a replica. But she said khaki uniform, so I was like, perhaps it was a ranger that worked in the park. But then when we went to the museum the next day, because we got chased out by the cops, even though it wasn't chained off or anything, you have to have permission to be there at a certain hour. So we went and signed paperwork, and walking through this building, there was the uniform for a general or whatnot, and he was wearing a khaki-colored uniform with gold embellishment on it as far as the buttons and everything else like that. So it really struck some awe into us, and then she saw it again, and I kind of felt bad for playing that and kicking up that energy of that spirit. I mean, she really freaked out, and it wasn't because she saw it. She said she could feel what he was feeling, and it was like just pure anxiety and trying to run for your life. And so I ended up taking her home, and we came back, luckily, because I left a piece of equipment behind. But it really does work, and it did make me feel guilty because I didn't want to kick up something like that. But what do you really expect when you're going to a battlefield? I mean, there's not really happy flowery feelings going on. But Nick in the chat room wanted me to tell you guys hi. He said you guys are friends of his, and we referred. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Nick.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
Nick's a good man.
Yes, he is. He's been following us since the beginning.
Small-time paranormal days.
Yeah.
He's super awesome.
Very paranormal.
Yeah, he's a part of what I refer to SOR Asylum, or our paranormal family. He's been there day one since I've been there, and we all started out in the chat room, and then I got bumped up doing work and stuff. But it's been awesome getting to know everybody in there, and Nick is just super awesome, and we talk off, days off on the show as well. But
for sure, there's the whole thing about, as you start getting bigger, you start getting more fans, more followers. I would rather have one diehard fan that loves what we do than 100 fans that are just like, oh, these guys are kind of cool.
Yeah. For
Quality over quantity is definitely there.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. On that note, guys, we got to go to our second break. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the Dan Norvell Ghost Hunter Project. Actually, the Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell Project. Dyslexia kicking in again. All right, we'll be right back. You guys don't go anywhere.
Sure.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens, or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month, where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. It's hour number 3 of Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. Follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now back to the Rocky Mountains. Here's Tessa.
Hey guys, welcome back, and we're in the third hour, And that means you guys can call in with your questions. The number is 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596. Welcome back, Dan, Larry, and Tess.
I was going to say, Dave is his brother's name.
Yeah. And it's funny you guys said Dave Scott because the weekday host on this show is named Dave Scott.
Yeah, I noticed that too. At first, I thought they were the same person. I realized they're not.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We had another question here in the chat room. And
Sure.
What are the current paranormal evidences that the guests have gathered?
Oh man.
We've got a very, very solid Class A EVP that I caught before I even met Larry. As a matter of fact, it's the only EVP on that recorder, and I'll probably never record another thing on it because it's that good. We've gotten multiple UV pictures. Caught a great one at the Vets Hall.
Yes.
Actually caught by my little sister.
Yeah.
Her name's Ghost Hunter Julie Norvell. And then
we have a lot of UV pictures.
We've got a lot of UV pictures.
A lot.
And
the battleground, the gathering site.
Yeah, and then we've got some really good EVP stuff.
Yeah.
As far as video, until we just captured the thermal, not a lot of video stuff. Amazingly enough,
we do have that piece of paper at the Rosati's.
Yeah, that
was
would
a
be
video.
on video. But as far as like catching a shadow figure walking across something or anything like that on video, up until the Rosati's investigation where the piece of paper was being moved.
Yeah.
And
the thermal
hit. That's about it.
Now then again, up until this last year, we really didn't use video a whole lot too.
We didn't shoot a lot of video.
Yeah, we mostly did pictures and EVP. It wasn't until we decided to invest in the right cameras and everything like that, then we decided to start running video every time.
I think it would be safe to say, Tessa, that in the last year, between Larry and I, we've probably invested about $8,000 into this team. And
it's pretty safe.
That came directly out of his and my pockets.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, you can really go broke doing this. Because we don't charge for what we do, helping people. We feel like we'd be taking advantage, and it's just a service to our fellow man on this side and the other to do what we can for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Even there's still a chance you never make your money back.
No. Yeah, I do know of teams that charge here and there. Like if they have to drive, they'll maybe charge mileage. We don't charge anything. Never have and never will. But some people get really upset about that. Like I said, I don't have an opinion on it either way. I guess if somebody wants to pay you to come, we have had people offer to buy us equipment and things like that. What I always nonchalantly tell them is, look, if you want to make a donation to our team, take that same amount of money you wanted to donate to us and send it to St. Jude's or send it to the Ronald McDonald House. Those kids could use it a lot worse than I could. And I always tell them, I said, if you want to put it in the name of Ghost Hunter Dan Project, that's fine. I said, I would rather see the money go towards kids that are sick than, if we need equipment, we'll buy it.
Yeah. A lot of our donations right now are going towards the Vets Hall too.
Right. Yeah.
So, like we have two scheduled fan investigations. We're actually working with a lady named Kathy Kressel. She's with Haunted Rockford, and she sets these events up. And basically, we're just helping her. And all the money for the event, people pay a ticket to get into the investigation, goes to the Vets Hall as a donation. So now, the Vets Hall is making a good amount of money to be able to invest in, a new exhibit, to repair an exhibit, even if it's just to keep the lights on.
Right.
And we like seeing the money go to that kind of stuff, especially since I'm a veteran and Dan, knows a lot of veterans and is in the fire service and the corrections officer world and all that stuff. Veterans mean a lot to both of us.
My grandfather was a World War II veteran. He was a medic on, It was either Omaha or Utah Beach, which I guess it really didn't matter. They were both pretty bloody. So, kind of the reason I became a medic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how that's passed down, from generation to generation, just what you've been, you've known of your family and aspirations that you have for yourself.
Absolutely.
But for you guys, Larry and Dan, you both are into cemetery history, and that sounds somewhat boring to the average Joe, but it actually intrigues me. Can you guys tell me more about this venture?
Well, probably the biggest one that we could talk about would be Blood's Point. And that really got it started for me. But if there's anything before Blood's Point you want to talk about.
It pretty much started with me for Blood's Point as well. Okay. Blood's Point is probably considered the second most haunted cemetery in the state of Illinois. I don't think it's haunted at all.
We've tried a lot of times.
We have been there. And, the thing about it is Larry and I don't have any problems catching evidence. We've not caught one EVP there. We've not caught one picture of interest there. We've not caught anything on video there. We've done ghost box sessions there and not gotten one answer. I believe that if Blood's Point Cemetery was called Sunnydale Cemetery, probably nobody would even go in there. One night, Blood's Point Cemetery suffered $8,000 to $9,000 worth of damage. Some teens went in there and started kicking over stones, thinking that it was going to kick up paranormal activity if they, kicked over stones that were in there. And those families of those people had to pay to repair those stones. I mean, the cemetery doesn't have the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of started a movement in our local area to bring attention to the desecration and to the vandalism that was happening at Blood's Point.
And I'll also come out and say it, the lack of care. There was a bit of lack of care. And you'll see that in a lot of cemeteries we go to. A stone will be broken and they'll just leave it laying there.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it to the side.
Or throw it under a bush. Yeah, so they can mow around it. Throw it in a bush. Lean it against a tree. This particular cemetery, Blood's Point, had a shed in the back corner that was so overgrown that kids were going into it and getting drunk. There's cans and bottles everywhere.
Yeah.
And the lack of care was something that we wanted to bring attention to as well.
Well, that's awesome. Last time I went to visit my mom and dad, where they were buried, I noticed that there's a fence going around the cemetery, and there was actually headstones out in the trees, and they're kind of growing up here and there because of the roots of the trees popping up through the ground, and it just kind of made me feel sad, like, even though it is kind of overgrown and such, like, why is it quartered off from the rest of the cemetery? And someone had made a point, maybe they were people that weren't wanted to be around other people, perhaps they had murdered or molested or something like that, which would make sense, but otherwise, just because it's in a really old location, why are you, cutting it off and putting it, out there where nobody's even going to notice or try to communicate or pay attention to it? It's kind of sad because nobody wants to be forgotten. But yeah, I just found that interesting, and it's sad when people go in and destroy these headstones and such, trying to taunt or whatever to the spirit. Like, that's not the way to go about it. For me, it's, the utmost respect and, to anyone, the homeowner or the landowner and the entity or spirit that's there. It's very important. Do you guys taunt at all when you guys go out?
We are anti anything to do with taunting. Our opinion, and this has been since Dan and I first got together, and probably before I even met Dan, his opinion. You're not talking with a ghost or a spirit. You're talking with a person. And if let's say I walked into your house, Tessa, And I said, hey, Tessa, throw some crap at me. Come on. You chicken, you're not going to do it? Come on, throw something at me.
Mm-hmm.
As a person, how would that make you feel?
You're not going to want to talk to him.
You're not going to talk to me. And if you do, you're not going to say anything nice. You're going to have some choice words for me. And maybe that's what these people that do taunt are trying to get. They're trying to get those choice words. But everywhere we go, we always try to not only remain respectful, but just always keep in mind that we're having a conversation with a person. And just because that they don't, inhabit a body anymore, that doesn't mean they're not a person still.
It doesn't mean they don't have emotion anymore.
Right. I mean, you've had instances where spirits are just as angry in death as they were in life. You have the motherly type spirits that just exude that loving aura almost, where, you feel at ease around them.
You get the little kid spirits that seem to want to latch onto you if they feel that you're a good daddy or a good mommy.
Right,
and they
right.
want to follow around that whole cemetery.
Which happened at Maple for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you're still dealing with people, and you really shouldn't be taunting. I'll even say it. You shouldn't be harassing the spirits.
One guy that I bring up that does that an awful lot, who has his own TV show, and I'm not trying to make anybody upset here, but Zach Bagans is a very, very good example of how unprofessional that looks, because every time that I don't watch Ghost Adventures all that much, but when I do,
I watch it for Aaron.
I usually
me
watch
too.
it for,
he's my favorite.
Which Nick's no longer with him anymore, but that's who I used to watch it for. And the other side of the coin is Zach Bagans. I mean, there's no possible way somebody could get possessed every single show like he does and then be fine the next show just to get possessed again. So, I don't think there's that much room in one person's body for that many demons. But
I also think that
maybe, I guess,
that kind of show is what's causing a lot of these startup groups to start off hostile. Right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Because they're seeing, TV shows where it's happening. They're getting results, and they think, if this guy's on TV, this must be the way to do it. Or if I want results, I need to do it this way.
Yeah, I need to go in and act like an ass.
Yeah, so, as much as I enjoy watching the show, a lot of the times I enjoy watching the show, especially for Aaron.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love his reactions, and he always seems to get something. Like, he's more spiritually grounded or whatnot, and he doesn't pull all that crap that Zach does. And you can tell he has that respect for them, and he's just wanting to help them. And Zach goes in there, and even if he's not having something happen and somebody else has an effect, he'll go along and, like I said, he's the biggest drama queen ever, and he'll go along and be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling that too, and oh, now it's possessing me. I'm like, give me a freaking break. But Aaron's awesome. And then Nick went over to Paranormal Lockdown with Katrina from Paranormal State, which was the first show that I ever watched. And I think they do an awesome job together. I love watching them. But
yeah, Nick is very professional.
Yes.
Very, very professional.
Two other people that branched out and I do enjoy watching are Amy Bruni and, what's his name? Adam? Kindred Spirits.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They do a really good job.
See, me, I always liked the Kling brothers in Ghost
I
Lab.
like
that
Ghost
was
Lab.
an awesome show,
I
and I really
Ghost
wish
Lab.
that it kept going. I don't know why it
Brothers?
did, but Ghost Lab.
Oh, okay.
No, she's asking if I've never watched Ghost Brothers.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought you were talking about, but I wasn't sure.
And no, Ghost Lab was Brad and Barry Kling.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they're down at Ashmore Estates this weekend with our good friend Terry Mosby.
Yeah. The other guy was Hawk, right?
Steve Hawk. I had actually talked to Steve Hawk quite a few times on the phone. Steve, he was the older gentleman on the team.
Hell of a nice guy. Very
nice guy. He actually left Facebook because he got tired of watching the Facebook drama all the time. A lot of people, Steve is a college professor. and was a professor for Texas A&M, I believe, and actually went back to work doing that. So, very, very smart person, very well versed.
Right. Well, I think we can all agree that hunting ghosts and being involved in the paranormal is not a full-time job.
No.
No, it don't pay the bills. That's
Well,
for
and
sure.
even when it does, it takes a heck of a lot more work than just going out and taking pictures.
Tessa, something that you said when you were just talking to us about 10 minutes ago, you said a lot of the spirits don't want to be forgotten. And that made me think that I think that's why Larry and I get a lot of action at these Black Hawk War sites, because it's been 188 years since anybody's taken the time to talk to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, we're there willing to talk.
Numerous times.
To
the point where it's like, oh, it's those guys. They're back. Hey, guys, how you been?
My buddies.
My buddies are back. Yep. The only ones that are actually going to talk to me.
The only ones who care enough to come out here.
Right.
And
now, the one thing I am worried about with us focusing on the Black Hawk War is there is always the chance that there's going to be something negative that comes out of it. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to see us, and they're going to be like, oh, man, these guys got something over at the battleground here in Stillman Valley. So they're going to go there, and they're going to try to taunt, and they're going to knock a stone over to piss a spirit off. And then now this beautiful park, it's not really a cemetery, it's more a park, is going to get destroyed because we brought attention to it. And that's always in the back of my head is a worry that I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to draw that unwanted attention to it.
Right.
No.
So I'm hoping the way that we write the book, we try to make it look as respectful as possible, and maybe the people that watch the videos and read the book will be respectful too. That's really the only thing we can hope for.
And not only respectful towards the militia and the soldiers, but also to the Native Americans.
Yes, it's not a one-sided.
Yeah, I'm not really in either one of their corners.
No, because they both had good cause.
They both had good cause, and they both actually made some very bad decisions. Black Hawk was sending his guys out to massacre and mutilate settlers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as you, Tessa, from being a soldier as well, psychological warfare is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can fearmonger people into getting the hell out of Illinois back in Black Hawk's time, that's what he was doing.
Absolutely.
And it seemed right to him at the time.
Right. But the militia also made a lot of mistakes, too.
The militia also made a lot of mistakes.
Technically speaking,
and we will say this in the book.
Yeah. Technically speaking, Stillman's Run and Stillman Valley is the first battle of the Black Hawk War. But it's not where the first death occurred.
No, just a few hours prior to that, Black Hawk had sent some of his warriors down under a flag of parley. So these guys...
Emissaries.
Yeah. They're walking down there carrying a white flag to the militia's camp to surrender.
All they wanted was safe passage.
Black Hawk just wanted safe passage for his people to get back over across the Mississippi River and back into Iowa, and he was going to leave it alone. Our militia from the state of Illinois here were a little tipsy that day.
Yeah.
And opened fire and killed one of them. Killed two of them, but one of them actually died on the site of the Kite River.
Right.
The other one actually died en route back to Black Hawk.
Yes.
So when the other, when one out of the three comes back and tells Black Hawk, two of us are dead because we were going there and they shot us, Black Hawk decided, well, they don't want peace, all bets are off.
Right.
And led the attack to Stillman Valley later that night. One other big thing that we want to mention with the Black Hawk War, and he always seemed to be a day behind, but a young Captain Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln,
mm-hmm.
captain of the Illinois militia, helped to bury those men at Stillman's Run and also at Kellogg's Grove.
He played a very large part in the war. It's just he was always
a day
wrong
behind.
Place, the wrong time.
He was always a day. But President Lincoln, who was a young captain of the militia at the time, helped to bury those men at both of those sites.
But the nice thing, though, is that Kellogg's Grove, they made a dedication to him.
Yep.
They have this really beautiful
nice statue that they just put up.
It's of Captain Lincoln, not President Lincoln. What he looked like during the war, in his soldier's uniform.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you find that there was a big difference between the two as far as appearance?
Judging by the statue and from pictures I've seen, it was almost like Captain Lincoln was maybe a little malnourished, a little underfed.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because you're in a war and
He
you're
had a shaven face. He was a captain.
and you're huffing it, up and down
Yep.
Illinois.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're a little bit thinner. But
Definitely younger.
Yeah. But I almost think that his experiences in the Black Hawk War might have also shaped him as a president too.
As a matter of fact, we have looked it up, and you can actually go and research this on the interweb. Captain Lincoln actually made a speech and brought up his time in the Black Hawk War, and he brought up how he felt when he saw these men were scalped. And what people don't realize is that when the Indians scalped you, they didn't start at your forehead and go all the way to the back of your head. It was about the size of a silver dollar. So if you guys remember the Ike dollars, about the size of them, or a Morgan or a Peace dollar that were silver, probably 2 inches across, maybe.
Maybe the size of a baseball at most.
Probably, just maybe even a little bit more than a golf ball.
Yeah.
Probably smaller than a baseball, but a little bit
Some in
bigger.
there.
Yeah. The Indians would go right to the back, the crown of your head, take about a 2-inch part of your scalp, and they would put that into their medicine bag and move on. Now, those scalps, people think that they were done, that the Native Americans scalped people as a form of disrespect to them. And actually it was not that at all. They felt that if they killed a warrior in battle and took his scalp, they now took his power along with them, and that made them a much more efficient warrior.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to say that. Oh, go ahead, Tessa.
Well, go ahead with what you were saying, because I don't know if this is involved at all. So finish your thought.
No, I'm not saying that when they got back to their camps, they did hang the scalps out and parade them. But the thought process about taking a scalp on the battlefield was to take that warrior's power. That's all I was going to say.
So, involving Lincoln, I guess on September 28th, 1862, there was a major hanging, and it was called the Dakota Trials of the Dakota, and that's where they took 303 men to trial and then basically hung them all. Are you guys privy to any of that as far as your investigations?
Unfortunately, right now, it was a small war, only a couple months, but the amount of research it takes just to dive into only the war, you'd be really surprised.
Just those Illinois and Wisconsin sites, and you're talking something that happened when Lincoln was a president, correct? 1862? He would have just been a president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also around the time where documentation was starting to happen.
Right, and also about 30 years later than where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. We mostly spend our time concentrating on the subject we're focusing on. Mm-hmm. Now, if it does take us off to the side a little bit, we'll look into it. But I try really hard to focus on the particular thing that I'm on, because if I get too far off subject, I might not go back.
Yeah, and Lincoln did play a big part in the war, especially because Lincoln is like one of my favorite presidents. He is Illinois' favorite son. But I do understand that some kind of crappy stuff happened under his presidency. And, just as every president, good things happen and crappy things happen.
Right.
And
it's also hard to look back on something such a long time ago with the lens of today. Mm-hmm. Things back then were completely different to where they are now, to where we think it's crappy, but to him it was how things were for 100 years.
That was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it is complicated, and like you said, a crappy thing happens with every president, it seems. I was just surprised because in school they never told us about this. Like, I didn't hear about this until this last year, And I was very surprised because that went against everything that I had learned, and I was like, no way. And then the more I dug, the more I realized that it was true. And it wasn't 303. I guess 303 were tried. 392 were tried, 303 were sentenced, and then 38 were actually hung. But
Right.
yeah, it was very interesting.
They were Native Americans, right? That were hung?
Yes.
Yeah. I've studied a little bit on it, not in depth enough, though, to give you any kind of an intelligent answer to it, unfortunately.
Okay, well, moving on. So, do you guys stay in Illinois to do your investigations, or have you ever traveled out of state to check out other things?
I've actually got to step foot on the USS Lexington down in the Bay of Corpus Christi, Texas.
I was at the Crescent in Arkansas
just 2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Nice. My sister-in-law wants to go there for her birthday. I'm from Arkansas, and she's like, you got to come for my birthday in September, and I want to go to the Crescent and do some investigating because I do have a plethora of paranormal equipment in my stead that I have invested in slowly over time. But I really want to go there. I went as a kid with my mom, but not as an adult, and I know it'd be a totally different and awesome experience. What kind of stuff did you pick up there?
A couple years ago, I went, and they actually have a paranormal tour there where they take you into the underbelly of the hotel. There used to be a morgue downstairs because it wasn't always a hotel. And they take you through the basement and everything. It's a really cool tour, so I highly recommend doing the night tour for that. But when we went a couple weeks ago, it was during the day, and it's well known to be a haunted hotel. So you've got dozens of people doing the same exact thing I was trying to do: take pictures, do sessions, do recordings and stuff. It's a little tough. The room, I think it's 218, that has the male spirit that pretty much only interacts with females. From what I was told by the front desk staff, is always booked. And it takes a long time to get into it. But when Tessa went in there, and unfortunately she's not able to answer right now, but she picked a lot up. I had the book. I bought it a couple years ago, so I already knew what most of the major spirits were. And I think she picked 5 out of 6 of them. So, I mean, she didn't even know we were going. I just said, oh, by the way, we're going to this hotel today. She's like, what hotel? You'll see.
She didn't even know what the Crescent was before they went there.
Nope. And then all of a sudden, she's picking all these spirits up, and I'm just like, okay, that one sounds familiar. That one I know for sure. And then once I got home and checked the book, and I'm like, yep, that one. The only one she missed, she said there was one female and there was 2 females. Mm-hmm. So maybe that other female just didn't present herself.
Yeah.
Or we were in the wrong part of the hotel. But yeah, the hotel's, it's got a lot of energy. I mean, it really does. So much bad stuff happened there. People falling to their death and stuff like that. It's a very awesome place.
What I would like to say, Tessa, is that the Lexington was absolutely awesome. And not until the day before I left Corpus Christi did I find out that they had overnight ghosts. You could actually go and stay there overnight on board the Lexington. Had I known that when I went there, probably 2 of my nights would have been spent at the Lexington. However, when I retire in 8 years from now, I am moving to Port Aransas, which is just down the road from Corpus Christi, and I plan on spending lots of time at the USS Lexington.
I'm eyeballing Corpus Christi, so I'll be right down the road too.
Yeah, that should be an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you guys ever had an encounter that freaked you out so much that you considered quitting this field?
I had one. It didn't really make me consider quitting, but it made me think I need to take a step back. And it actually wasn't all that long ago. Maybe 4 or 5 years. I guess that is long ago, isn't it? Time sure flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
We had just got done doing an investigation at Starved Rock for the 1960 Starved Rock murders. And I I don't remember what month it was. It definitely wasn't March when the murders happened. We did it in a different month. And I was living with a woman at the time, and she had a day job. She worked at a school, so she was gone all day. I am the first to come home. I walk into the kitchen, drop all my stuff off, go to start putting my stuff, all my equipment and everything by the computer, and my computer chair is flipped upside down. All the stuff on the desk is on the floor, and her night vanity where she does her makeup is tipped over, and all of her stuff is on the floor.
Wow.
So nothing's stolen. The laptop is still there, hooked up. The TVs are still there. Everything is still there. Her jewelry is on the nightstand. The chair is upside down and everything's off of it. And that was the one time where I'm just like, okay, something actually came home and started messing with my stuff. But, so obviously I called her and I'm like, why did you flip my stuff over? And, she denied it, which she should have because she was at work. She didn't have the chance to come home. But it's like, I had to make sure she wasn't mad at me before I said, okay, a ghost wrecked my room. And it wasn't long after that I kind of took a step back and I said, okay, gonna relax for a little bit. But obviously it didn't last long because here I am.
For me, my kids didn't sign up for this. So this is a continuing struggle. Now my daughter's now 17 years old and going to be going off to college next year. My son's now 12. But when they were little, something followed me home.
From the creepy church?
From the creepy church, and it attached to my daughter. And with some help with some really good friends, we were able to get it out of the house, thankfully. But that really made me consider selling all my stuff and getting out. Because, like I said, my kids did not sign up for this. I did, but they didn't. And it wasn't fair that my daughter now was dealing with something that I brought here.
Yeah, so what exactly was happening? Was she seeing it, or was it attacking her, or what happened with that?
Yeah, it was standing in her doorway every night, pulling the covers off of her. As a law enforcement person, of course, I'm pissed off and I want to fight it. And how do you fight something you can't see? Mm-hmm. And, I kept telling it, why don't you bring that stuff to me? This is the one time where I taunted a spirit because it was an asshole anyway. Pardon my French. But I was like, bring that stuff to me. Let's see how well that works out with me. And it took great pleasure in tormenting the hell out of my daughter. I got to the point to where she couldn't even sleep at night. We did the cleansing.
Which, let me tell you, that was trippy.
The cleansing was trippy. Mm-hmm. We did not video to see shit floating around. Pardon my French again. God, it's getting late. I'm so sorry, Tessa. To see stuff floating and getting thrown around the house and there's nobody in it. Because we basically had my family leave the house when we cleansed it. And to see
blinds
being moved and there's no airflow and you're violently hearing things get slammed to the floor.
The walls making noise.
The walls were making noise. He didn't want to leave.
Jeez.
We pretty much pushed him out of here. Now, on that same note, and you can read more about this one. I blogged about it on our website. I did a four-part blog. I actually did cleanse a boy, and that was a really, really tough time. We do not advertise the fact that we do cleansings. We do not do cleansings that often. Think of
emergency situations.
It has to be very emergent, and then I'm going to have to decide that I'm going to do it. Think of your life as a pie, Tessa, and every time you do a cleansing, a little bit more of that pie gets taken away from you. Mm-hmm. When I cleansed that boy, I was sick for 3 days, and I'm talking violently ill. It was for whatever reason, I was picked to do this cleansing. I could not turn to Larry to help me. I could not turn to anybody. It was my burden to bear. again, with some help, with some direction of some really good friends, I was able to get the entity off of this boy, and it worked out really well. The last cleansing I did was about 8 months ago, and I actually, believe it or not, saw it leave the person and it got snapped into wherever it went.
That was the last one I did 9 months ago. So the last one you did was 5.
Oh, okay. I thought it was longer than that.
No,
Well,
it's 5.
anyway, the last person that I cleansed, they've all been successful. But the law of averages says that, it's not always going to be successful. And, soldiers, firemen, police officers, corrections officers, doctors, we're all type AAA personalities. We hate to lose. And right now I haven't lost in that aspect of spiritual battle. But inevitably, if I keep doing that, eventually I will. And I don't know how I would handle that if I did.
Or what the repercussions of losing
would be on me and to the person that I'm trying to help. Probably one of the strangest cleansings that Larry and I ever did was we cleansed a house. We got all done. Everything felt immediately lighter. Right when we got to the very end of the door, we made the seal on the house with the sea salt. And I said, if you're gone, give us a sign you're gone. And Larry, what did it feel like the house did?
Jumped. The whole house.
It felt like the whole house jumped off of its foundation. The whole house literally felt like it went kaboom. And Larry looks at me with these big freaking eyes. That would have been your freak out moment.
That would have been.
You on tape. And he goes, what the hell just happened? And I said, well, I guess it left.
Well, come on. The house jumped.
I don't know. I mean, the house was clean ever since. So I guess it left.
What did the woman say in Poltergeist? This house
is clean.
It's clean.
Yeah.
This house is clear.
Yeah, maybe that's my freak out, but luckily we didn't have that on camera.
The thing is when we do any kind of houses or people we do not videotape that.
Photos.
We might audio tape it at best.
Yeah,
just to see if we can get any voices. Otherwise, that's a very private thing.
Even if we do take video or photos, none of it gets posted.
Nope. It will never get posted.
It gets eaten by the hard drive, and it's never seen again.
Yeah, that happens so often. I've got so much stuff that I need to dig out, but as far as cleansings go, we do a lot of those in our area, in the Four Corners area of Colorado and New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. But I've learned to not go when I am compromised, like if I didn't get enough sleep, or something bad is going on in my personal life, I won't go because I forget to do certain things to protect myself when I go. And the worst experience that I had with a cleansing, it was right up the road from where I lived. The lady was telling me some things, but it really didn't raise any red flags. And so when I went there, I didn't do the things that I usually do before I go in, because I didn't get the peg on my internal meter that something was really, really amiss. And went in, gave her her kit, showed her how to use it, went into every nook and cranny and crevice, and didn't cleanse myself before I left, because I figured, being compromised and being tired and not feeling threatened, that, I've been in sage this whole time, so it should be fine, which it wasn't, because it didn't have that intent behind it of cleansing myself. And I always carry tourmaline in my pocket, and I went home, and when I got ready for bed, it was still in my pocket, and I didn't, carry it on me after that. And about an hour or so after I got ready for bed, Tessa wasn't home anymore. It was this other dark and evil entity, and it broke my camera. So many crazy things happened in my house. I came to behind the wheel of my car, and I'm like, where the hell am I going? And what's going on? I need to turn around right now and go back home. And I went back home, and my family, my husband, my kids are locked in the bedroom. And so I figure, okay, something's happened, and we'll discuss it in the morning. I laid down on the couch, watched TV, woke up, and my husband came out, and he wasn't angry. He was legitimately worried, and he's like, "Are you okay? Like, it was so crazy what happened last night, and I know it wasn't you. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm really drained, but what happened?" And he told me, and like, I still have to get this lens for my camera because I do photography, you know, on the job for the paranormal, and as far as portraits for people and stuff, but it's kind of on the backslide of my list. But I have had to bow out of so many different investigations because I'm compromised, and I don't want to have anything bad happen to me or anyone around me, because it can affect everyone in the situation. And so I just let them go and run with it, and they do a great job. But I really miss it. But yeah, you always got to be on top of your game and protect yourself and everyone around you. And if you're not up to par, just back out. Do you guys find yourself doing that at times?
Dan actually had to get elbow surgery, and you know, we didn't do really much of anything because
I was down for a good 9 months.
Yeah. And while he's on the mend, you know, we're of the same opinion. If everything isn't 100% right, don't go. Mm-hmm. If you've got a cold that day, if your back's hurting, if your hips are hurting, we're not investigating today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had pretty good, since Larry's known me, I've had some pretty good bouts with some kidney stones. I've had 38 of them, Tessa.
Holy shnikes.
I've had about 8 surgeries.
Yeah, at least.
And so there's been times that, you know, Larry and I can't do anything because, well, number one, if you got a kidney stone, unless you've ever had one, it's like hellfire in your back.
Yeah.
And number two, like Larry said, and you just said, if you're not up to your 100% game, you don't need to be out messing with anything in the spirit world. So
right. I have degenerative disc disease in my neck and my back. And there's been times where Dan's like, "Hey, you want to get together tonight?" And I'm just like, no, I'm going to stay home. Okay. I'll go. All right, have fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay home.
Yeah. Stay home and stay safe.
Right.
One thing that I'd like to say, Tessa, only because I don't want to forget about saying it, is Larry and I seem to be the face of the Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell project, but there's actually 3 other members here, Tessa being one of them, Steve Wren, and Gary Roach. And what I want to say is they are just every bit as important to this team as we are. Their jobs, my job's very demanding, but their jobs are very demanding as well. And but that's the point I want to drive home, is that when they are there with us, they mean every bit as much to this team as Larry and I do. Larry and I just seem to be the face because we're always the ones out there, because I have weird days off and so does he, and they just kind of
work
together so we can go out and do these things. Like on September 11th, we pretty much spent the whole day at Blackhawk sites.
Yep.
But they're not any less important to the team, you know, or any more important than we are.
Are they actually in the house right now as far as the interview, or you're just giving them kudos?
Yep, I'm just paying them kudos because they
probably have to work in 3 hours.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But when they are able to show up to the investigation with us, they both bring a certain amount of expertise and a certain amount of calmness.
Yes.
Steve and Gary, they're 2 guys that I don't think you could scare them, no matter.
No. And if you say,
especially
right.
Gary, the devil himself could walk in and Gary would go, "When did you get here?" You know,
right. Yeah. If you know, hey, Gary, Steve, I want you guys to go and do a session in this room.
They're
going to go, and they're going to do it right, and then it's going to come back
done really well.
Yeah. It just so happens that, you know, with their jobs, most of the time they make the big stuff, and that's fine for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, have you guys worked any cases where the client either lied or had psychological issues?
Be nice.
Absolutely.
Be nice.
They're out there, people. Be forewarned.
There was a lady and a few towns over back in What?
Right when we first got together. So 10, 11, 12?
Yeah. And she was absolutely crazy.
She was one of those people that wanted her house to be haunted so bad, she was going to convince you it was haunted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know how many people would actually want their house to be haunted, but this lady, wanted her house to be haunted.
I mean, it was to the point, Tessa, where she was literally contacting me every day.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, look, I finally...
You did investigate for her, right?
No, I never did.
Oh, you didn't?
It was members of the family that went.
Okay.
I actually finally got to the point to where I told her, never contact me again because I'm blocking you. Lose my number, or I'll make sure that you lose my number. Yeah, it was just horrible, and I don't know if she was mentally unstable, which she probably was. But she so badly wanted her house to be haunted. She so badly wanted the ghost hunters to be in her house that she was willing to tell us anything and everything to get us there. And the 2 investigations that were done by associates that were working with us at the time brought up absolutely nothing. The only thing that was haunting that house was her and her crazy husband. We had.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. We had another case to where similar situation, not quite to that extreme, and it kind of worked itself out. So
yeah, it doesn't happen often. I mean, most people are just
thankfully toss it up.
Yeah, most people, they're actually kind of either nonchalant about it or they're
scared to contact.
They're scared to contact us because they don't think that we're going to believe them. It's like, I know this sounds crazy, but this happened. And then, Dan and I are like, no, that doesn't sound crazy at all. That sounds like something normal for our environment that we're used to working with. So there have been a couple investigations where I felt that the person we're dealing with was a little off. Not necessarily mental issues or anything, but just off. But yeah, luckily I haven't had a situation where it was, completely upside down crazy.
The bad thing with me, Tessa, is I am in such a negative environment all the time. I'm around the most negative people in the world, day in and day out. So, for lack of a better term, I don't like to take shit. Right. And when I go to a location to where we have a client that wants to start giving me goofy BS, what happens, Larry? I don't take that well.
You're still professional about it.
I'm very professional, but I'm the kind of guy who will sit there and go, look, I don't want to hear your bullshit. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear the facts, and quit embellishing it and just tell me what's going on. And that's when Larry will look across the table at me and go, would you just shut the hell up? And
kind of like right now.
Kind of like right now. That's the way I am. I mean, when there's a certain point to where I no longer want to hear the BS. I want to hear the facts. I want,
we want to hear the ghost talk.
Right.
We don't want to hear the client talk.
Because I don't need to sit here in your kitchen and be convinced, or otherwise I would have never stepped into your house in the first place. So most of the time, 95% of the time, that doesn't happen, but it has happened on a couple occasions, and it has happened with those people that you mentioned. They're just a little off, and I don't really... I guess because I deal with it all the time, I don't have a lot of patience for it, unfortunately, and that's something I have to work on.
Yeah, and people, when they do have issues, whether it's past abuse and the way they were brought up or whatnot, sometimes they are just at this point of denial, and you can find these little things that are in the house, but at the same time, this certain issue is feeding this entity or whatever it is, and some people just have
cleansing. That's exactly what happened in my last cleansing. It was maybe late January of this year. and this lady had a really horrible situation happen to her. I mean, think of the worst thing that could happen to a little kid. That bad.
Yeah.
And she went for 15, 16 years bottling this thing up because no one believed her about it. And it created its own entity. And it fed off of her emotions about it. And then all of a sudden, when there was nothing, now there's something tormenting her. So me, I was in the Army. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just an old vet that likes to hunt ghosts now. So I'm sitting there trying to dismantle this web that she's created to try to figure out what's at the core of this thing. And we came to the conclusion that it was just a negative energy manifestation. She manifested it just from repressing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you got her to dig down deep and realize, the facts about what happened and come to realizations with things.
And realize it was her.
Realize it was stemming from her. All of a sudden, poof, it was gone. And then I said, listen, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I highly recommend you see one because if you don't, this is going to come back. And from what I've been told, everything is still good. And she's seeing someone and it ended up working out. So, yeah, people don't realize the things that they do. A lot of people bottle stuff up. I mean, it's fine. Everybody does it sometimes. Me, I do it. Dan does it. Everybody does it. But when you let it get that bad, people don't realize that it can take on a life of its own.
Yeah, it really can, and it does attack people even if you don't intend on that happening. Like this lady, her husband was being pulled off of the couch and attacked, several different times, and she just wasn't able to see that it was stemming from, like you were saying, her repressed anger and hurt and whatever else was going on in there with, her past life, being a child and everything, as well as her work life in today's day, and she just couldn't wrap her mind around how she could be at fault at all. And I don't want to say fault as in, it's her fault, but it is stemming from her, and whatever it is, thought form or whatnot is feeding off of her and being, projected by her. And sometimes, I don't know, like a team member of mine was saying, oh, it's a Christian thing. They don't want to take accountability for anything. And I'm like, no, I don't see that at all. Like, sometimes it's just hard to get past that thing. Like, this is coming from me. But it does a lot of times. It's really crazy, but it's pretty amazing at the same time.
Especially when you don't really have a belief in the paranormal. If you don't believe ghosts exist, why would you believe that you're manifesting a spirit from inside of you?
Or feeding.
Or feeding into it.
That was there.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, and yes, there are religions that say, ghosts aren't real. There's no such thing. But there are people that don't follow any religion that believe ghosts aren't real. They're not, they're anything that's happening is explainable by such and such.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes all kinds of people. It really does.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you guys.
Heading to Vancouver.
Oh, sorry. We are at the end of our show. If you guys would like to share your website or Facebook pages as well as books, now would be the time.
Well, you can catch us at www.ghosthunterdannorvell.weebly.com. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell Project.
YouTube.
You can catch us at YouTube at the Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell Project, where Expedition Entity and Lifting the Veil are featured. You can catch us at the 2018 Paranormal Conference in Rockford, Illinois, if you're in Northern Illinois at that point, or the investigations that are coming up with Haunted Rockford, and our books. Our books are available on Amazon. If you Google Daniel Norvell or Larry Eissler, Larry's and my book, Paranormal Theories, A Logical Approach, will pop up. If you Google Daniel Norvell, my books will pop up as well. Interesting thing about my books is I write fictional books, such as Afterlife. Those stories are fictional. They're written from the ghost perspective. And the upcoming book, you'll be able to catch that. When are we thinking about the release?
It'll probably be released
June of
late.
2019.
No, with deadline's June.
Deadline is
It'll
June.
probably be released late summer.
Late summer of 2019, and that will be The Ghost of the Black Hawk War, written by
Right.
Larry Eissler and Dan Norvell.
Right, so we'll probably be back to rent an advertising slot on your station.
Yeah, we'll probably actually.
Well, thanks so
That's right.
much, Dan and Larry, for being on, and Tessa over there cuddled up in the corner. It was so great having you on the show this evening.
Thank you for having us, Tessa.
It was a great time, absolutely. Hopefully we answered everything that was that you asked in a way that was entertaining to everyone that's listening.
It was awesome. It was a great show. And thank you to everyone in Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, Deep Talk Radio, and wherever else in the universe you are listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow for Something Else Sundays, because we don't have a psychic on spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we own the night. Until next time, nighty night, love and light to all my space cases out there. You guys have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Bye.